To export from Log 10 on MacBook, select Reports and Exporters. Then select Export Flights. Now save the generated file on your desired location. To export from FileLog, select Export, then download CSV export. Now save the generated file on your desired location. Your exported file may be CSV or text. You can open the file by right-clicking on the file and selecting Open with, then selecting Microsoft Excel from the list of available programs. After opening the file, select File and Save As. Change the file type to CSV. Rename and save. To adjust the column size, select all the table data by clicking on the top left corner of the table. Move the mouse to any space between two columns until the cursor changes like this. Then double-click the column separation. Normally the exported file is very large. You can freeze the first line of the table by clicking on View. Then click on Freeze Top Row. Now it's easier to work with the file. If you save the file as CSV, this modifications will not be saved. You will need to do this every time you close and reopen the file. Before importing the file, we must make sure that the information to be imported is consistent. It's also a good idea to remove unused columns and rename the columns to something more informative. First, check each column to make sure there is no information. Then select the empty column. Right-click and select Delete. Repeat this steps for all the columns that have no data. Scan the file for empty lines. Select and delete them. Also delete lines that don't have any flight information. Next, let's look at the departure and arrival airports. This value must always be present. The preferred format is the ICAO 4 letters code. You may also use the IATA 3 letters code. But in this case the airport must be in the database before importing. You must not have ICAO and IATA codes in the same column. If the line is a simulator duty, insert the code for the city where the simulator was done. The CHOCKS off and CHOCKS on. Times must be always present and must be formatted with hours and minutes separated by a colon. If two flights have the same departure date and time, they will be ordered in the same order they have been inserted. Fill up all the empty spaces in this columns with zeros following the format. Flight times must be formatted as hours and minutes separated by colon or a number, representing the number of minutes in the flight, or a decimal number, representing the number of hours in the flights and the decimal of the hour. The following time fields are available for importing: IFR, simulated instrument, cross-country, nighttime, pilot in command, pilot in command under supervision, second in command, dual received, instructor or dual given, simulator time, 4 custom times, and total flight time. You can rename the columns in your CSV file to match these fields. Time columns that are not in the list can be merged or deleted. Also check if the values in the fields are correct. The maximum value is 23 hours and 59 minutes. If a time cell is blank, it will be imported as 0. You can format the column by selecting it. Right-click and selecting Format Cells. In the Custom option, select HH: MM. It's easy to import only the aircraft registration and model, and ignore the other information. The aircraft characteristics can be easily edited after the file is imported. If you have more than one text column that you want to merge into a single value, you may create a temporary column and use formulas to concatenate the values. Then copy and paste the cell until the end of the file. Once the file is saved and reopened, the value will be converted from the formula to the final value. When you first start SimpleLog, the program will have no data. You can automatically import a list with the most used airports by clicking on the Airports tab, and then on the Download Airports button. The airport list file will be downloaded from the SourceForge page and automatically imported. In some computers this may take a long time. After the airports are imported, you can import your flights from the CSV by selecting Import and Export, then clicking on Start Importing, and select your file. The wizard will read the title of each column in the file. You must match the column with the respective field. Select the date format you used in your file. The fields in red are mandatory. If you want to recalculate takeoff, landings or night time, you must have valid CHOCKS off and CHOCKS on times. Continue following the wizard. Now select the format of the flight times. You can recalculate the IFR time, based on a percentage of the total flight time minus a number of minutes and limited to a minimum time. Also, flight time can count as cross-country if the distance between the departure and arrival airport is greater than the cross-country distance. The default pilot function will be used to decide if the total time will be logged as pilot in command or second in command when these columns are not selected, or the values are not present for the flight. Some errors will prevent you from continue to the next screen. In this case, the custom one time was greater than 24 hours. Fixing the value and saving the changes will allow you to go to the next screen. Other errors will allow you to continue, but you should check the messages to avoid importing corrupted data. In this example, line 28 contains both pilot in command and second in command hours. The sum of these hours is more than the total flight time. Since this flight was flown as pilot in command, we will change the second in command time to 0. In the line 49, the total hours is 0. We will fix the total time and the pilot in command time. The last message is due to an error on the night time on line 56. We should recalculate the night time for this flight and insert the correct value. Now that we've fixed all errors, we can continue selecting the model. Registration. Departure airport. Arrival airport. And the crew information. We are missing the second-in-command names in a few lines. Since this information is not required, we can proceed with the importing. In some computers this may take a long time. Please be patient. You can check if all the flights were imported correctly. Check the aircraft models and modify the model characteristics. This will be applied to all the flights that use this model. Check if the aircraft registrations are correct, and modify if required. The registration that was used on an entry with simulator time will be marked as a simulator. This concludes the basics of importing your logbook database. Thank you.